while. We've seen a lot, and we can help you with any of your needs you need for your low voltage and life safety systems. We are a vulnerability expert. We've been working with a lot of local universities and DoD facilities for years, so we'll be happy to be a resource for you on any upcoming projects you might have. Jen sitting next.
Sorry.
You're fine. And here's a little our service suite. Obviously, we do video surveillance, and that's what today's all about. We also have in life safety with fire alarm, access control, intrusion detection as well. So if you've got any projects that need any assistance with any of those, please feel free to reach out to us. And with that, I'll turn it over to the boys from Avigilon.
Awesome. All right, must have changed it. Thanks, Morgan.
Yep.
I guess, should I be talking here or is that where my voice goes? Ta-ta-da. Okay, just want to make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. Hello, everyone. My name is Kyle Kolish, CSC for Avigilon Motorola Solutions up here in Washington State. If you're seeing our screen, my counterpart is Jeremy Downs, the tall boy in blue over there, and then Chris Thompson here in the back as well. So we are the resources for you as well when it comes to anything Avigilon. Now, I promise I'm not going to subject you all to death by PowerPoint. I am going to go through just a few slides here, give some broad stroke overviews on who we are, why we do, what we're all about. We'll actually get into demonstration of.
Hey, Kyle, we are not seeing your screen.
It's not presenting yet.
Yeah, are you still seeing the Absco stuff?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. I haven't switched it yet. So let's double check.
Oh, you can move that bar.
What is it? I'm still sharing the screen. Let me move this over. How about now, Chad?
Looks good.
Cool. All right, apologies if I muted you. My intentions were good. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to go through a few slides here, and then we will actually get into the software. Chad, since you were so kind as to give us the feedback there, I'll rely on you for if something goes awry, if you can't see my screen.
Deal.
Figuring out tech stuff over here. So 1 second here. Okay, we're just going to keep rolling. So Motorola, forgive us everybody, we're still working through technical difficulties here, but we'll get right into it. So Avigilon, you guys know Avigilon, we were actually a startup several years ago. We got purchased by Motorola, which means we are now part of the larger mothership. That means we integrate with everything from radios to access control. The mission statement I would say of Avigilon is to make video easy, to keep people safe, and to supplement the necessary human errors we all run into. There's just a fact we're running into is technology continues to get better and improve, resolution increases, camera systems are getting beefier and beefier, and yet the human mind isn't able to keep up. Well, this is where some major breakthroughs in video security have been able to assist a lot, and that's what I'm going to show you today is the AI, the artificial intelligence that Avigilon's developed to help assist us as operators, us as directors and IT directors as well with our video systems. So a couple of big key items I'm going to show you today are the analytics that we've developed. You're going to see today a appearance search technology, which allows us to actually make a description in the software and search by description. Facial recognition, which we'll show you on site here at the Absco office. Unusual motion, which is a fairly basic analytic, and then something fairly new called focus of attention. And this will be the bridge as well into the radio side of the house. And we'll allude to some of the breakthroughs we've made with Motorola radios. So as I'm going through this, if you do have questions, I'm hoping we have a way that we can record those. A lot of this stuff has nuances and details to it. I won't expect you to keep up with, and I won't go too much into here. If we can write those down, that'd be great. And so, like I said, we'll have all these analytics that we'll go into. If you're actively trying to design a system, just know that Avigilon is end-to-end. So it's not just cameras we make, but also the boxes in between the cameras in your software. So NVRs, we just came out with this AI NVR, which actually adds analytics to any third-party cameras you have. The big things about Avigilon is that we're easy to use, interoperable. That means you can patchwork us in and we'll still integrate with everything you've already got. You get to leverage your existing infrastructure and investment. And so you can be using other cameras. You want to provide you with Avigilon cameras, but you can selfishly use, or you can use other cameras and still plug them into Avigilon products and software. And so we'll be able to go through any questions you have on these products as well, and where they can fit into your existing infrastructure. All right, so that's all I'm going to submit you to for PowerPoint. Let's get right into the software. So I'm just going to open up the client here on the desktop. We'll get right into it. A couple of big things I'm going to show you right away is everything's super intuitive. The whole software was actually designed by EA game designers. So everything's meant to be 3 clicks or less to get to. So we've logged into several sites here. I've got my views here as well. You'll see it's almost like Google Chrome. Right hamburger menu on the left gives me site setups, alarms, and some of the analytics searches, which we'll be able to go through. I can actually do my site setup and tinker with things here on the left, and I can set permissions. The different servers and sites are here, so I've collapsed them down, but if I wanted to expand what we're actually looking at, I can show you the remote site, which is down in Richmond, as well as the one outside of Dallas, Texas, which is where all the cameras are manufactured. And then we've got the NVR here locally at the office, which is where these cameras are coming from. So super simple. If I want to see something, I can just click and drag it. Like I said, 3 clicks or less for just about everything here. Jen, maybe there's a way I can minimize this. If not, that's okay. And then tabs up top, right? So we've had some things running in the background, which I'll go through, but I can switch easily between views while I'm here in the software, like I'd mentioned. So one of the first things we wanted to go through with all of you is focus of attention, which is a symbolic representation of the site that we're looking at. I'm going to have Chris and Jeremy get up in just a second. But before they do, just a quick walk. Every camera is actually represented here as a hexagon. So every single camera on site, we don't have to be distracted with these, 64 panes of glass, so to speak, but we have every camera represented symbolically, and they're actually punching through the important things we want to know about. So blue here means that there's motion in the scene the camera's looking at. You'll see some of them are going to flash teal, yellow, or red. Those are alarms that you can program. So for example, if you need to know about somebody trespassing in a certain area of the property after hours, or loitering outside a certain door, parking in a disabled parking spot, parking outside a fire lane, right? Any of those kind of classified events, those will actually get pushed through here in focus of attention, and then it'll bring up the footage live here on the left side. So we've had some of these cameras set up so that they'll actually alert us of some watch list items, right? So if we've added to the system, and then as well, this detection set up to read out. As well, we also want to know about people who are coming in without a mask, right? So certain watch lists on faces and then masks. So I'm actually going to have Jeremy or Chris go ahead and walk around. They're going to leave the conference room here. Chris is going to walk around out through the camera, and then you'll be able to watch live as it pushes through this event we've asked it to notify us of. So the big idea here that I like to describe this as is it's like letting your cameras work as 24/7 security guards, right? You've got eyes 24/7 on your property. Use a little bit of AI, nothing crazy, and they can tell you about events as they're happening. So you'll see here on the left, we had the camera pop up and it's telling us that there's a person without a mask that just walked by, and that person is Chris Thompson, who made a face watch match in our system here. Thanks, Chris. Well done. Well done, you did great. So to demonstrate just this one functionality, but you can expand this to any sort of analytic event, and I'll show you the options there. I kind of threw out a few, right? Maybe there's a high-profile person you need to know about, maybe a disgruntled employee that if they return on the property, you know they could be dangerous, you need to know about them. Well, you can grab a picture from social media or their badge, add it to the system. The cameras will be on guard for you 24/7 and tell you about that when it happens. So it's like they're watching your back the whole time. Let's go through, I'll show you some other analytics that are available to you. So this is actually where we would set up analytics in the system. There we go. So it's fairly simple. You can do this yourself. It doesn't require a master's degree. I got hired as a millennial, which means I figured this out relatively quickly just because I have to be young. So you don't have to be a techie person is what I'm saying. But as you go into each view, you'll be able to set the parameters for what you need to know about. So drawing boxes around the zones of interest, making a label, and then also punching in an activity. For example, if there's a person who's not supposed to be in here, right? This is what we're doing here. We're saying anytime there's a person here in this super dangerous, yard, I need to know about it, right? Anytime somebody's crossing over a beam. So think of perimeters, think of fences, think of curbs that you don't want people or cars to cross, even going the wrong way down a one-way street, or even violating a speed, going too fast, driving super fast through a parking lot. These are all events that we want to know about. We'd rather proactively get them than respond to them later. And that's the big thing with analytics, is that you actually turn your whole video system not into this reactive after the fact tool, but a proactive tool. It really flips the entire paradigm. The whole world is used to using footage after the fact. Something's already happened, now I need to go pull the footage, provide it to the police or whoever needs it. But the event's already happened, you didn't prevent anything. And that's what we're changing with analytics. We're actually making the camera system preventative. And you take that to the next level, integrating something like a whole camera system to your radios. You can have alarms pushed out to certain radios. And if there's an event that a security guard needs to go respond to, they can do it right away. So if there's some sort of a wanted individual on your school property, for example, well, we don't want to wait until something's already happened to go respond to them. Have an Avigilon system set up, push an alarm to a radio, that security guard can literally go approach that individual right away, right as they walk on, and hopefully prevent something terrible from happening, right, and save lives. So that's the end goal here with all these tools, is making the system hyper effective so that we prevent the bad guys from winning. So that's one of those we wanted to show you. I'm going to go through just a few more here.
Hey, Kyle, could you help us understand, can we take multiple areas and create different analytics off of the same camera?
Absolutely. Yeah, good question. So yes, you can set multiple analytics from one camera. So even in this view here, I could set up one analytic that tells me if people are in the yard. I could set another one that says if there's like a vehicle that crosses over this fence. I could ask the camera to tell me if somebody's loitering by the fence. Same view, different analytics.
Perfect.
Thanks for asking, Chad. Yeah, in fact, we'll actually go through here. I'll show you. Let's see here. So you'll be able to see the camera here actually live classifying objects, which is what I've been talking about. So all these bounding boxes are actually showing us which objects are being classified by the camera. There's virtually no limit to how many you can classify. The number is more than you would need. So even if a vehicle is standing still, it knows that this is a vehicle, and that means I can search for it later. So if I go back into recorded footage, yeah, I can click and scroll and try and find what I'm looking for, but I can leverage the analytics as well. I can do motion search events, and instead of just looking for pixel motion, I can actually narrow my search down, right? Time parameters, yes, but even more powerful is I can actually scope in now what part of the scene I'm going to be looking for. And I can now delineate between person and vehicle, and even more nuanced, I can go bicycle, car, motorcycle, bus, or truck. So the analytics get pretty bright. If you've been told that the culprit was riding on a bicycle around your parking lot, well, boom, you've got cameras that can look for that. If I needed to know when a person was walking down the sidewalk, I could easily do that here. I would just do a search, yep, we are recording, for people, and it will pull that back for me. So we're taking usual searches that take hours and days, right? Just clicking and scrolling through the footage I've been given, and we're taking those down to a few minutes. Now I've narrowed it down to an individual. I can simply go through each one of these searches until I've found the person I'm looking for, right? So example, if we play this guy here, I'm going to watch this individual walk up the sidewalk. You can actually see.
Drag that.
You can drag it over
the
the
next screen. Yeah, the other way.
That way.
There you
Oh,
go.
thank you. There we go. That makes life way easier. Thank you. So I can actually observe this individual here, and then watch how easy it is for me to export this too. If this is the guy I'm looking for, I can actually just click export. It's a one-button push. It adds it to an export list, and I can compile a whole storyline here that I can export whatever video file format the people I'm talking to need. So pretty powerful, right? If we compared that to a normal search, which is just pixel motion, over the same timeline, I'm going to go from 8 results to double, if not triple digits. So going through 8 results that I know are going to have somebody I'm interested in versus we're at 559 now. My job would be to go through all 559 of these motion events, which, you know, only 1 or 2 of them are going to be relevant for me. So this is one of the big things as well that analytics does, not just being proactive, but also going in after the fact as well.
Hey, Kyle, what if there's 3 more cameras in this parking lot that have different angles and perspectives? You just select that camera, is that right? You can do multiple cameras off of a search.
Well, not if you're searching across for specific incidents, Chad, but yes, if you go back to live view and then just bring it in with multiple cameras, so minimize that. Now you're looking at 4 cameras and you have the timeline bar that's down below, right? But if you know specifically who you're looking for, you can do the apparent search across those cameras if they're analytic cameras. But yes, you can scrub the timeline bar once you get to an area where you found the individual you're looking for across multiple cameras. And yeah, that could be as many as 64 cameras, but I would tell you that most investigations and screen size is going to require, 4 to 9 camera view.
So good question too, Chad, because I think it segues well into another function of ours, which is if you want to look across multiple cameras all at once, you can do that. Right, oftentimes you've got multiple angles, you want to see them all. So this will actually lead us into appearance search here. For example, maybe I have this single view of this gentleman here, but I want to know where else he was on the property. This is only one sliver of the story. When did he come on the property? Who did he talk to, right? If we're doing a contact tracing sort of mode, I need to know who he shook hands with. Maybe I found out he was COVID positive last week. I need to know who he sneezed on, all that stuff, right? Okay, so I found one clip of him here, but now my job would be to go manually track him down everywhere else. We can actually circumvent all that and do an appearance search on this description essentially. And so what I'll actually do is I'll look before or after this, and the system is going to look for something that looks somewhat similar. So you'll see folks wearing black shirts and black pants around the property. So this is where it can get really powerful. I can say, okay, this is the guy I'm looking for. I'd like to get more of that. And I'll actually teach the computer real quick to just pull back more results like it. It'll put bookmarks down here on the time bar, so I can start filling in all the gaps. And we're going to come up with a whole story here. I'm going to have every clip from every camera that this guy walked across, the moment he walked on my property, from the time he walked off. So that's how we would look across multiple cameras. It's also how you would track down every instance of somebody. Most of the time, this is where we blow people's minds and they start to think we work with the FBI. What's crazy is you can actually reverse engineer this as well. So you're not always going to have a clip of somebody, but you might have a description, right? So how many times have you been told, oh, I don't know when they came on or when they dinged my door, but I know that they were driving a white car, right? Or they came sometime yesterday and it looked like the guy was wearing a black hoodie, right? So we get some sort of description. So I can go through and I'll actually do an appearance search based off of somebody's description. I can do a people search, right? Punching in male or female, hair color, age. I mean, we can even differentiate between kids and adults. What they were wearing. If I was told they had a black hoodie and blue jeans, I can punch that in. We can look for specific vehicles, right? So I know the guy was driving a truck and it was kind of a black or gray truck. I can look for that. And then I'll just set the time parameters here, right? So I've got my calendar. The person told me it happened, sometime between Monday and Tuesday, so one day. And I can select all the cameras that I'd like to look across. So in this case, I'm looking across the whole MSI site, every one of these cameras. Now we're probably going to get a number of hits here. And some of this may not be relevant for me, but as you can see on this bar here, we're getting a lot of different instances of some sort of black truck, right, which is what I punched in. Well, maybe I also knew that the person said, I could have sworn it was a Ford or a Chrysler. Well, I've got this Ford F-150 pulled up. That might be my guy. So now I can do the same thing I did with that gentleman earlier. I can select these instances of the truck, refine my search, and again, I'm painting the whole story of exactly what I'm looking for. Not only that, but I can easily export it again. All the hits I got, add them to the export list, and they're ready to work with right here. Jeremy, I think you were going to say something.
You're good.
Go for it, man.
No, you're good.
All right, so hopefully I didn't lose you guys and you think that we're Big Brother, but this is where I think the search tools get really, really powerful. I mean, you can imagine how much time this saves when you're looking for footage that's hard to track down. But also if you've got instances of something you need to respond to really quickly, right?
What I would say is go back to one of the truck images, just any one of your searches that you just did there, and then highlight the fact of where that truck is in that scene, right? So if you go to any one of those and then you look at the video, drag that box all the way over, that it's, that truck is now right there, it's driving through and you can see it, right? But it's a much larger overall sequence of events that's happening in a much wider field of view, and that the analytics are classifying both people and vehicles and trucks and bicycles across a much wider scene. In today's technology, when you're deploying cameras, a lot of times what you're trying to achieve is give me the widest field of view that I can get with the correct amount of image resolution that I need. And part of this technology is the ability to classify those objects even when they're very far out on the perimeter, so that you're extending and gathering this intelligence, this assistive technology across a much larger field of view, right? You don't have to have a small field of view to accomplish this. It's something that can be done with a wide field of view.
Hey team, this is Ralph from Absco Beaverton office. I just wanted to give a practical example of this. 2 weeks ago, I had a large manufacturing company who had a report of a catalytic converter theft from a vehicle. So they actually used this exact process, and it took them 5 minutes to paint the story of where the vehicle entered the property, where they loitered. You could watch them case a vehicle, when they actually approached the vehicle, got down, did their dirty deed, and left. And literally that place took 5 minutes to get all that data over to the authorities. So huge time saver in a real world application.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Ralph. I think that's a good story. Yeah, we had a school district use this when a child got home but didn't get off the bus. So mom came home after work and kiddo was home, and she wondered how the heck my child got here. So she called the school. She just described what her kid was wearing. They did an appearance search, found him leaving class and then getting picked up by his brother and being driven home. So right then and there on the phone with mom, they were able to track down that kid and find out exactly how he got out of school and got home. So
hey, Kyle, one of my customers that's on this call has a bunch of high impact and dangerous chemical storage and manufacturing. Let's say there was a spill or a leak of some sort happening on the floor in where there's cameras. How would you advise they use, maybe not appearance search because it's not a people or a vehicle, but how might they use the intelligence of just the system in general to isolate when that started?
Are you saying, Chad, that we'd be looking for when a leak started occurring so they could track down where the spill came from originally?
Yeah, so that's the
Correct.
Thumbnail.
Maybe the mail search?
Yep, exactly. Chad, it's almost like I paid you to ask these questions, man.
Don't tell anyone.
We'll chat later, yeah. So yes, let's go through another example of how we can use this in chat, providing the perfect way of doing that. So we don't have any chemical spills here at the plant in Plano, so I won't be able to show you that exact scenario, but this would extend to a couple of other scenarios that we can demonstrate, right? So maybe a bag that's been dropped somewhere, or a vehicle, right? You need to know when they arrived at the parking spot or when they left. So anything that's coming and going, quick changes, right? This is how you track that down. So what we'll do actually is I could do this here with you guys. We'll do a search and we'll do a thumbnail search. Thumbnails is a really quick and easy way to chunk up the footage you're looking at. So we're going to take this scene. I'm scrolling out just to get a timeline here. And I'm going to pick on one of these cars. Now that Nissan's been there for a while. All right, let's pick on this gray Nissan here. Maybe this Infiniti is kind of a nice one. So we'll pick on this Infiniti. I know sometime between 3 p.m. on Wednesday and, well, 4 a.m. that Infiniti left the parking spot, and I want to find out when that was. I'm going to do a thumbnail search here, and it just quickly chunked up all the footage, and I'm looking for the gaps between when it came and left, right? So that looks like right between here and here, if you can see my mouse, these two.
Those are what, almost 1 hour segments.
Yep. If you couldn't hear Jeremy saying, we've narrowed it down from a whole day to 1 hour. So these two thumbnails turned into 1 hour. I'll just keep double clicking in here and it's going to narrow it down more and more. So now we're between 2 minutes. I'm getting to the point where I'm pretty close. I think we just found it, right? So now I've got between 6:07:57 and 6:08:806. This is going to be the moment we were looking for, and I can play it right there. There it goes.
She's going home.
You guys know who that is?
Yeah, we do.
So whoever that is left at just over after 6:08. So she was working late.
So how I would relate that in like a real world experience like Chad's asking about. So let's say you did have that spill, and I'm going to paint a picture that I can't necessarily do with video, but let's say that it was related to a forklift operator that shouldn't have been in that area, right? And he clips a barrel at the base of it and it starts leaking, right? You could literally go back and draw that bounding box around that area and say, okay, when did it start leaking? And then quickly find that, right? Within going from it's been leaking and we noticed it now, so there's no stain or spill. I can quickly find the exact moment in time when it started leaking. And then I can also maybe do another bounding box around that and say, show me what's passed through here in the last 24 hours, because we will classify a forklift as a vehicle. So you could literally see anything like that happening in that area. So, and that also lends itself towards the idea that if you want to preemptively say, this is the safe area where we shouldn't have a vehicle, Kyle alluded to it a little bit earlier, right? Where it's like, that's a curb and a car should never be on the lawn or on the sidewalk or anything like that. You can draw that bounding box to say, if a vehicle comes across here, that's something we want to be alerted to. That might be an inbound or an egress where somebody's signage is inappropriate and cars are turning in the exit rather than exiting out of that. And another scenario for that might be if you had an area where you know a forklift shouldn't be in your large manufacturing warehouse, you can draw that bounding box and say, I need to create an event that sends an alert that says, for training purposes, we want to go talk to that new forklift operator, even though it's, you know, we don't want to take the forklift down these particular aisleways or into this area. So there's a lot of ways that operationally analytics or assistive technologies can help you manage your organization.
Yes, and this thumbnail search too, I just throw out there, this doesn't even require an analytics camera. This is just something the software does. So you could have the dumbest camera out there, and this would still work, which is pretty neat. You can do a lot with a little bit.
Hey guys, could you also, in that same vein of thought, address you've got the ability to have that with what you first started with. I'm just blanking on the name for some reason. The focus of attention. So you got focus of attention. That's a proactive. That's assuming you've got some sort of a security operations center and somebody watching what's going on. Let's say you don't have that. Can you talk about how that would work with mobile? There's security guards kind of roaming around the area, or there's security personnel in offices. We can alert them via text messages, email. Can you talk a bit about that too?
Yeah, Jeremy, can you hit on that?
Yeah. So all of this assistive technology, right? So we can create an events tab, and that events tab doesn't necessarily mean that I need to receive a text message or an email alert. That events tab just becomes, here's a list of events, like what we were looking at for no face mask detection, what we're looking at for maybe, I would think if you're using facial recognition, you would want to get those alerts sent to you. But yes, the system offers the ability to just create a list of forensic or review events, or if you want to, you know that, hey, this person has been trespassed or this vehicle license plate was involved with a prior event. As soon as the license plate arrives on property, I want to receive and send out a notification. I want to create that event and search it forensically, but also at near real time. So within moments, I need this talk group via Motorola radio, or I need these cell phone users to receive an email, a text message, and a snapshot of what that is, so that you're responding to that particular event, whether it's a face match recognition or whether it's a license plate recognition, or even if it's just, there shouldn't be anybody crossing over, climbing my fence into my yard at 2 a.m., right? If you know that there's really no reason for your staff members to be in an area, that can also be an automated alert. So if it's a data center closet where you know that there was no valid card read and all of a sudden your door is pushed open and the camera recognizes and you don't have any intrusion alarm or anything, but there's a person now in your data closet at 2 a.m., that could be a problem. And you can send an email, a text message, and receive those alerts both through mobile and through email.
Did that do it, Chen?
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
I think customers in general are also going to be a little bit confused. I think we should clarify the facial recognition and license plate recognition. Are you going to go into those being separate licenses and how those work?
Yes, we can go into that. I was going to show LPR, but yeah, we can answer that right now, Chad. So yes, the way the LPR, license plate recognition, and facial rec works is that it's an additional license and you'd add it to specific cameras. So whichever cameras you want to have that capability on, it's just an add-on that we provide.
Yeah, and what I like to tell customers when you're thinking about those assistive technologies where we're leveraging facial recognition or leveraging license plate or leveraging appearance search, the reason why they really are a separate add-on license is because those technologies in today's world, state and local business, and for some other arenas, there is some restriction on the use of those technologies, right? So we want to be able to give customers the ability to not have those present in their system without diminishing their ability to use the system. So if you don't need facial recognition, or maybe it's against the law to use facial recognition in your organization, you don't have to have that technology there.
If you do want a dedicated license plate camera, we provide those as well. But like I'll show you here, this is a camera that we've got set up, Absco generously put up at their office, and we added LPR to it. This isn't a specific LPR camera. This is not that beefy thing I just showed you.
So I'm going to speak to something really quickly about this camera. This camera is literally 9 years old and has been on this building for that long. It's a 3 megapixel camera. It's something that we just applied license plate recognition software to, and I'm going to have Kyle. So he's got 20 hours, right? And just hit search with that blank, right? So over that 20 hours, and you can see that the software has brought in all the different license plates that it's reading. So let's just choose that top one, right? Uh-oh, that's Morgan. So you can see, right, from left to right in that, what I call search window, you now have the server that it's on, the device name and type, the license plate, the confidence of the analytic that read that, right? So all of those 93s and 92s, we can just go in and see that it says BKH7872. Zoom into that one that you've highlighted right now. It's pretty hard for you and I to read that, right? That's a 3 megapixel camera, but I'm going to say it got pretty darn close, right? BKH7872, right? So this gives you the ability to kind of imagine for yourself. If you've got some legacy camera technology that's been out there for almost a decade, there's some technology that you might be interested in looking at, not only just, hey, it's time to maybe upgrade that camera, or you can apply this license plate recognition to it and still get accuracy out of this type of solution.
Yeah, and if you've got specific plates you want to look for, right, you can just search them in there. We did a general search, but if we knew the plate we were looking for, just as easy to have the camera look for that specific plate.
Yep. And then you can create a watch list for when those plates come through. I've done a lot in education where they're working with the local law enforcement and they're basically receiving a list of license plates so that they know where individuals who are not supposed to be within certain distance of a school, and when they come by and drive by with their license plates registered as the offenders that they are, that you can get that alert, right? So think about it from that perspective, but it goes back to what Kyle was talking about too. Maybe you have a workplace violence type scenario where it's coming on, where you have a staff member that comes to you and speaks to HR and says, I'm having a difficult time outside of work in a family-oriented situation, and I need to be made aware of, for legal reasons, whether or not this vehicle or this person comes on premise, right? So it might not be an employee. It might just be your employee coming to you saying that, a relationship is deteriorated in their personal life and that they would greatly appreciate using a system to benefit them from some harm that may come to them, and that extends into your organizational staff, right? So this is where that proactive and being able to create alerts around information that you guys are working on outside of just normal circumstances. So when things come up, that your system is benefiting you in those regards too.
Yeah, thanks, John. That was good. Watch out for this guy. Yeah, definitely add him to watch list.
Bravo.
Chad, you've been asking some really good questions. You want to fire away any others at us?
I don't think very many customers are going to be really too excited about facial recognition for right now. I'm sure it's going to change as the years go by. But I know there's two veins of thought. There's the big brother fear concept, and then there's the practical, this is how it's helping me and my business or safety of my employees or what have you. Can you kind of talk about, because you said that you can grab an image from a Facebook account or whatever and actually import that. I know that has some issues around where cities and municipalities are outlining facial rec. So can you talk about kind of the facial chipping and how we don't have to go that direction, but still utilize the technology to find appearances that have been on my site?
Yeah, Jed, this is Chris. So the way it goes, if you notice on the pictures, Kyle, if you want to open up one of the pictures, go into the face watch list, right? So the benefit with this and where it's not the big brother, right? So the people you're really looking for is someone who's already walked past a camera. Yes, you can pull footage from like an online source and stuff like that, but most of the footage and the benefit with this software is you can pull it from actual recorded footage. So this is a person who committed that crime or did the vandalism, and now I want to know when this person comes back, right? So you're not looking for a general view of different people. You're looking for a specific person that has already committed something that is of interest for your information to obtain, which then it will alert in there with that yellow highlight bar, correct? It will also send you an alert if someone comes onto your property that's already created any type of vandalism to allow you to know that person's back on the property. Maybe that person's worth watching now because you know they've done it once and you spent $10,000 repairing the vandalism. Or that person created conflict. It's a number of things that could end up popping up, but you pull the footage from recorded footage, or you could load a PNG photo. You can do all that stuff, but we highly recommend you pull it from the footage. As you notice, I mean, this is all recorded footage from an actual IP camera that's on the network right now.
Hey guys, Ralph again from Absco Beaverton. One thing I'd like to highlight or ask you to touch on would be the more proactive things that the system can do in response to analytic events. By way of explanation, one example that I've done for customers is to either set up something such as video verification monitoring that can be triggered to a central station right by ACC, and or even license plate recognition could flag that central station monitoring. Or on a positive note, open a gate if the license plate is recognized. So what other proactive things can happen based on these events?
I mean, I think you nailed a few of those, but yes, the system can communicate to multiple systems, right? So when I say multiple systems, I mean your access control system, your intrusion alarm system, your gate system, your intercom system. There's lots of ways in which you can benefit from automated sequences of action. I guess what I would show with Kyle, if you want to go into that bright blue bar just to the left of overview, there's that right above Barb's face, a little bit, yeah, right there. So this list that we're looking at for focus of attention, right, is giving you the displayed events. So you can have an alarm event, you can have a face watch list, you can have a license plate match, you can have that person without a mask, video analytic detection, unusual activity detection, unusual motion detection, and motion detection. All of those things could be through old school relay logic or through communication via software to another system. So as Ralph alluded to, the idea of if I get a valid access control badge read, the next thing I may need to do is that's sequence number one. The second thing is I need somebody to put their face in front of the camera, so then I need to have facial recognition. So now I've got dual factor authentication. It might be, as Ralph was saying, maybe I don't want to issue everybody an access control card. So instead, I put in license plates and I can open a door based on a license plate, or maybe it's two-factor again. I have to have a valid license plate and I have to have a valid card credential. All of those things would be automated sequences of action that require a small amount of integration that can increase the level of security at a premise. Is that what you're talking? Well, you talked about central station. So,
well, I mean, yeah, there's just a whole arena. Another example, we had a manufacturing client who used this technology to enable or disable an elevator. So, you know, somebody came into the property. If their face was recognized, the elevator worked. If it wasn't recognized, the elevator didn't work. The bigger part of it is there's almost an unlimited way in which you can make this proactive. And a lot of people think, man, this technology is cool, but I really don't have time to sit here and watch it. The reason the technology exists is so that you don't have to watch it. So more just opening the conversation up to how can the technology do jobs for people to make their position more efficient, especially in security, schools, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you have to be a little bit imaginative and a little bit creative and talking to customers about the pain points or things where they want to accomplish something different, and leverage assistive technologies like, license plate recognition, or even just something as simple as being able to say this is an unattended area, or, because you might have some areas where you always want to have a staff member, and maybe you get an alert saying, we're not classifying a person in the scene any longer, so we're not greeting customers that are coming through. Or maybe there's an area where you have to have 2 staff members there all the time, right? And they're only classifying a single person being there. And those are just assistive type things where you don't want to be monitoring that video all the time, but if you can get that alert and come back and do some training around, those scenarios, that would be a benefit.
Yeah. And
I
like,
also,
go.
sorry, but I was just going to say, I also think because one of the things that Avigilon offers, which a lot of manufacturers do not, is the high definition, large megapixel camera option. And as I design systems, or as my other account managers and our design teams design systems, we're using more and more of these multi-sensors, 8 megapixels, 16, 20, 40, 60, and just the old school PTZs that customers still have deployed. Just showing the idea of one large scene and how we can actually use that one camera to capture multiple views and create multiple analytic events because we have the pixel density to play with.
Yeah, I love that you said that, Chad. That's something I actually didn't go through, but I always love to display is if you do have a beefy high-res camera, you get several cameras in one, right? So I've got this massive 61 megapixel camera here. I can literally just copy and paste the view, and I can pull as many views as I want out of this one camera. So if I want to consolidate my infrastructure and how many posts I'm putting up, I can do that, just put up one really good camera and it'll cover the ground I needed to see anyway. And you'll see how.
So there's a great example on the screen right now, right?
Yeah.
So in the lower left quadrant, you've literally got a door that's propped open, right? So if you wanted to receive an alert around a door being propped open, you obviously would want to integrate your access control system. You want to have a door position switch on that, but I mean, those are relatively innocuous things that maybe you don't have access control on this door, but you could see and receive that alert through focus attention, and then it would populate this piece of video saying, yeah, there's the door that's been propped open, right? So, and all you have to do is sync those 2 things together, and when you unify your access control system with your video management system, you gain all of that benefit, right? So now you can verify who actually went through doors, you can verify when a door is propped open and go have somebody go close that door, and that can be automated. And what I mean by automated is if we know that that door is propped open and it's been propped open for a specified set of time, you say 3 minutes. At 3 minutes, I don't even want to have an alert message sent to my phone. I want it to go across my radio, and I want my guard to go close that door, right? The same thing in the school district. If you've got the campus relatively closed and you're not supposed to be able to enter from that door, if it's propped open, you can receive that alert and then go have a staff member close that door.
And you can set it up so that different staff members get different alerts. So if you've got a maintenance crew and they need to know about certain things, then you can have the alerts pushed to their radios. If you've got a separate security team and they need to know about other things, you can have the alerts pushed to them. So it's all customizable for however you run your team.
Yeah, one of the ones that's kind of an interesting analytic, and I just learned about this the other day, that I'll start sharing with people because you tend to talk about strange things that took place. So we had a camera system that had unusual motion detection on it, and the sprinkler system had an issue where water was draining out of it by a contractor that didn't know that there was a sprinkler system above them, and they received that alert after hours, and it was based on unusual motion detection. And they obviously there was a contractor there to help resolve the problem and get the water shut off, but it was still on for several hours before they got shut off. But what alerted the facilities team to it was the unusual motion in an area where it wasn't, because the water was flooding down from the ceiling. So
Yeah, I think it's worth talking a little bit more about that, so customers understand the difference between an analytic event and an unusual motion or unusual. Yeah, can you address that a little bit more?
Yeah, we can speak to that a little bit, Chad. So when I had gone through and I had this parking lot pulled up, so we'll get that back. But when we're looking at classified objects, we're specifically talking about cars and people. So the camera's differentiating between things of interest, right? Cars and people, as most incidents are related to those, versus things we don't care about, like the tree moving in the wind or a squirrel that's running next to my door. So the classified object detection is happening here. The camera's classifying that. Those analytics are relegated to those objects. Unusual motion is a general scene analytics. So unusual speed, direction. Maybe there's an unusual direction that's violated. Maybe there's an area that people aren't usually in. There's not usually motion in, like a fire escape ladder, for example. People are not usually there. So if there is motion in that section, the camera will tell you about it. So unusual motion is running all the time, just for over the general scene. Classified object is specifically about the events you want to know about.
Type in SL into all your search bar there and just pull up one of them to diminish the timeline bar. Yeah, so just drag one of those over.
They're not logged on.
Do we not have any SLs on
I
the
don't
system?
think so.
Are you looking at all the systems, or you just?
Yeah, I'm searching across all of them.
Okay.
So what Jeremy's having me do is pull up the SL series cameras. Unusual motion is available in the SL series cameras, which are more of a basic camera.
They have any in Richmond?
Nope, nothing there.
I just want to find one that maybe says UMD or something. You might be able to do.
No, it was at the it's at the Allen site, which I'm not logged into. Yeah. Okay, we like Q&A. What else do you want to grill us on?
Anybody else have any comments, questions? Who's attending?
Yeah, and you can enter them into the chat here as well. So I see one question here from Teresa Lamb. Teresa asks, as a current client of Absco, who would we contact if we are interested in adding focus of attention to our system? So maybe Chad or Ralph can speak to that.
Yeah, they'll reach out to Teresa.
Yeah. If anyone else has questions, you're welcome to punch them into the chat as well.
We're still in a meeting right now. It's got 33, right?
Yeah. One other thing, sometimes people ask as we're going through this, when you're going through the footage, Kyle, it looked like it was blurry for a second and then it got really crisp, right? So when I zoomed in on this sign, it's really pixelated, and then in a second it'll crisp up. Well, what was that? So that's a patent technology of ours called HDSM, which is a bandwidth lowering tool. So essentially what it's doing is it's sending the highest stream or the highest resolution stream just for this field of view that I'm looking at. I'm still getting the rest of the footage for this whole scene, but it's sending it through on a lower resolution so I don't burden the pipe. So I'm not clogging the pipe with footage. So just so you know, that's one of the ways that we make this bandwidth friendly, and you can still get the footage you need. Privacy settings are here, right? So these houses, we don't want to look inside, so we set up a privacy screen in front of them, so you can set that up for any field of views you have. Essentially, everything is as customizable as you need. Anything else you guys want to cover while we're here? Morgan, anything you wanted to talk about specifically?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Jeremy,
Well,
you're good?
Yeah.
Jeremy?
I don't think there's anything else that we talked about a lot. Yeah.
Oh, Scott has a question. Different levels of need for accesses.
Gotta read it out loud.
Yeah, no, so I'm not gonna read it. I'm not gonna read, so we got a question from a gentleman named Scott. Yes, the short answer to the question is, can we create levels of access and level of need, right? So the system is very granular from that perspective, and what I mean by that is that you can have certain permission levels across viewing, and whether or not you can play a recorded video, whether you only see live video, the cameras that you actually see. And then on top of that, not only is the system able to provide for each individual type of user what their experience is going to be and what they can interact with and whether they see live or recorded, but you can also get it as granular because we're recording and go back and see what every individual that interacts with the software has actually performed and done. So if you need to go back and do as much as like an operator review, you can literally go back and see keystrokes and cameras that were viewed and the interaction with the system to ensure that they're doing what they need to be doing on the system. But yes, accessing specific cameras and having access to 4 out of the 24 cameras, or not being able to see 2 or 3. Then the other thing is I want to read the last part. It says, can I have an ACC instance that can access a shared camera that perhaps is being accessed by another ACC instance? So yes, maybe I'm not understanding that question absolutely correctly, but what I would say is that we can actually do a collaborative shared view. So if you have a user that is seeing something on their screen, they can actually, as long as that other person is logged in to ACC on a client, you can share screens, and then you can do a collaborative investigation together. I'm not positive that that's exactly what you meant by that question, but if there's something being accessed by one user, it can be shared with multiple users. The RTSP, real-time streaming protocol, is something that if you wanted to share it out to a camera website, we've got customers that do that too, because yes, the cameras themselves will send multiple streams, so you can have a stream that's high res directly to an Avigilon NVR recorder, and then another RTSP stream that's being sent outwards onto a web page on that web server. So yeah.
Unmute him so they can ask questions.
I think he said he doesn't have audio.
Okay.
Sorry, no audio.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, because what I was looking for is, so we basically have, like, I guess I would call it, loosely call it an air-gapped network, right? Where we have these operators that are isolated from the rest of the company, and we want to be able to give them access to cameras that potentially are providing an operational function in their area. But we also want to keep them as isolated as possible. So what would end up happening is we'd have, like, my security team might have a completely different ACC instance. So I'm just trying to understand if one camera can be shared across multiple ACC, like multiple NVRs and AI appliances and stuff like that. So they can serve different functions and not have to try to run it all out of one.
Yeah, so that's a networking functionality that's going to have to be addressed, right? Because if it is truly isolated, they're going to need some sort of access to that localized VLAN or whatever that is. But yes, as you can see, if Kyle goes back, we're logged into through one client, multiple systems, right? So we're an Absco system, which is local here to Washington. And then we've got Richmond, British Columbia, and then we've got MSI Manufacturing, which is in Richardson, Texas. So as long as you actually have valid credentials on those systems, you could, and you have access to that portion of the network, you could see those things, and then you would be able to share, a certain segment of cameras or one camera only, rather than them having access to the entire solution set on each individual air-gapped and or NVR system. As long as you can see that network, yes, but they will have to have what I would say credentials on each one, and then the ability to know what they can actually see on each system, which is completely granular. So you could do that.
Okay.
I'll follow up with you, Scott, and give you more details on that.
Thanks, Chad.
I kind of figured we were going to finish up a little bit early, which is great. I wanted to leave time for Q&A.
Yes.
but I don't know if there's going to be a whole, don't be bashful. We don't mind answering any questions or even things that you just think it can't be done. There's always ways, and bring this stuff back to Absco too, right? I mean, if you've got something going on with your system that you want to better understand the way that it works, we're more than happy to come out with Absco and talk to you about the ways in which other customers have done possibly similar things or creating something new that we haven't done yet, right? I think that it's up to your imagination and the challenges that you're experiencing across your business for us to demonstrate or figure out a way if video can be that type of technology that helps you move through and create a better outcome, whatever that outcome is.
Yeah, we wanted to wrap up a little bit shorter for you guys. We know everyone's got a busy schedule, but if there's other questions, we're happy to answer them too here. And if not, we can wrap up and give you all a half hour back of your time to use at your own discretion. So we can do a little countdown, but it sounds like we might be wrapping up. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Okay.
Thank you,
Do
everybody.
you have a fisheye that you can show on one of your demos?
They just got.
Yeah, it's not there. The only fisheye that you're going to be able to show is maybe the intercom, ROI,
Oh yeah.
VOI.
Is that an MSI?
Video intercom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took off the fisheye from our demo site, Chad. So.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not logged into the system, but I think there's an intercom.
Is that lens actually a fisheye
Yes.
lens and
Yes.
H4V? Ah.
Yes, yeah. Of course, that one's not online either.
Okay.
Sorry, Chad, we can't show it live.
No worries. It's a cool camera. And the dual lens you don't have yet, I assume?
No, I've not seen the dual lens appear on any of our.
We do have don't we have our, this is Ed with the Absco. Don't we have an H4VI in the Fife office that we can look at?
I'm
Not
not.
on
We don't have what, we're not logged into that on.
Yeah. I think we do now.
Okay.
Yeah. If somebody's interested in seeing that specifically, though, we can provide recorded footage at a later date.
Just
So
let us know.
easy to obtain. Just let us know.
And I feel like it's worth mentioning that it seems like, at least from my knowledge, the only cameras that don't have embedded analytics in the camera itself is the SL line and the H4 multi-sensor. It seems like everything else you guys have come out with, even the new fisheyes, the dual lens, are all embedded with the analytics that you were showing.
Yeah, and even the
And the
H4
multi-sensor.
multi-sensor has the analytics in it.
Well, no, that's true. You're right.
The products that don't have classified object detection analytic in them is an H5SL series and the H5M series. The other cameras in all the other cameras in that and basically have the classified object analytics built into them. And if you've got cameras that don't have analytics, we've got an AI appliance where you can add them. And then if you have a completely different video management system, but you want to have analytics on your cameras, as long as your cameras today that you're operating are OnViv compatible, which is an industry standard, you can put in an AI NVR and apply those analytics that way. So you can get a new recorder, a new software, and use your legacy cameras. So we're kind of meeting you where you're at with whatever technology you've got deployed, as long as that technology is not proprietary and meets an OnViv compatibility standard. And I'm not going to go into what OnViv is, but let's just say that if you're using a manufacturer that's one of the top 100 in the world, most of the time that's going to be an OnViv compatible product, and you're going to be able to apply analytics to it. There's a lot more that goes into that, but certainly reach out and we can certainly talk to you about exactly what those things are and what kind of performance you're going to get from those existing cameras. Because as you heard somebody mention earlier, maybe it was something called pixel density, which we're getting way far into the weeds on exactly how that works, but we want to be able to provide accuracy and be able to not create nuisance alarms or false alarms based on analytic events on legacy cameras that may not have the highest resolution.
Could you also touch on your new assurance program?
Yeah. So customers that are currently using Avigilon products today, one of the things that you may have experienced over time with Avigilon is that we launch new software pretty regularly. And we launch new major releases of software roughly every 30 months. And one of the things that customers came back to us and said is we want to have some stability in the way in which we're able to migrate and upgrade our existing software. So what Avigilon has come out with is a Smart Assurance program. And what the Smart Assurance program allows you to do is basically buy in advance a future revision release. So today, if you're running ACC 5 or ACC 6, or for that matter, ACC 4, and when I'm talking about ACC 4, we're talking about going back 16 years in technology, right? To ACC 5 to ACC 6, the current revision of software is 7. You can buy an Avigilon Smart Assurance program in a 1-year, a 3-year, or a 5-year option, and basically guarantee your cost of ownership of all new major revision releases during that time. And where that becomes really powerful today is that, as I said, we're running ACC 7, but ACC 8 will launch in June. So if you're a current Avigilon customer running ACC 6, you could invest in a Smart Assurance 1-year program and gain 2 versions of software. You would go from ACC 6, you would get 7, which we're currently in today, which launched in June of 2019. So we're talking about technology that's been around for 3 years, but you're also getting the benefit of all the new technology that we're going to develop with ACC 8, which will be around for another 3 years. So for 1 year of Smart Assurance, you're gaining, if you're an ACC 6 customer, 6 years of software development. Yeah.
Ta-da. Well, if you have any other questions, like we said, feel free to reach out. We always love showing this stuff off. We think it's pretty darn cool. And we're excited about what's coming down the pipe too. So just a little sneak peek, like Jeremy said, the software we've been looking through is quote unquote old now. So we'll be coming out with a new revision here shortly. We're also coming out with new feature sets for analytics. We're actively in the process of having a weapons detection analytic for firearms that are exposed. That's coming down, and then new cameras as well. So stay tuned for new developments and things that are helpful.
Yep.
Thank you as well, Absco team. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak on this stuff. Chad, thanks for grilling us with good questions. And Ralph, thanks for the good stories too. That was good.
Yeah.
So thanks again, everyone, for all your time. And have a great day.
Yeah, excellent.
And
Hang on.
yeah, we want to. Are you recording? Right?
Yeah, we're recording.
Let me stop.
Stop the recording.